There is a price to pay for a receipt that you have occupied, okay? So we were to look at how we spend our time, how we spend our day. Is it really moving us forward, or is it keeping us stagnant? Is it that we're spending more time looking at other people's lives instead of creating the life that we really want? How are we spending our time as a tribe? We have to look at that, spending less time creating what we want to generate, what we want to have, what we want to leave to our children's children's children, instead of watching other people build legacy and creating generational wealth, right? And honestly, we can't sit around and complain about what's missing, what's wrong, because 9 times out of 9, if we see an issue, if we see a problem, we're probably the solution. We're probably the answer.
Hey, it's Logan Renee of the SOULKATION podcast, the home of all things soul care, a place where we heal, we grow, and we laugh, all while you're building your six-figure business or CEO career. And now for your SOULKATION announcements. We are having another live class this month entitled Losing the Weight and Keeping It Off, honey. Okay. We've probably all done diets, but how do we keep the weight off? So that's what our focus will be on Thursday, August 29th for our SOULKATION live class. We're going to have a panel talking about how sugar and flour are really just like cocaine and heroin because they're actually made the same way. We're going to talk about maintaining your figure. Should you lift heavy or should you lift light weights? Cardio versus strength training, recovery, pre-pregnancy and post-pregnancy health, and unhealthy foods to just stay away from. We want to see you there. All details will be in the SOULKATION Tribe Facebook group. You can click on the link in the show notes, and we will see you on August 29th. Also, get excited and get ready for the 2021 SOULKATION Retreat. I just want to be the real me. We're going to talk about having a CEO mindset. We're going to talk about liking and loving the woman that you are and forgiving the woman that you were. We're going to talk about releasing self-doubt, unpacking brokenness, okay, and leaving it. We're going to put it back in 2020, okay? We want to see you there. Saturday, August 28th. More and more details can be found at loganrenee.com, and we hope to see you there.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the SOULKATION podcast. I'm your host, Logan Renee. Thank you all for joining me. Today, we're going to talk about top 10 traits of wealthy leaders, part 2. If you missed part 1, please go back and listen to it. I also wanted to shout out the other countries that have joined us in listening to the podcast. Shout out to Tanzania, the Russian Federation, Canada, Germany, Sweden, Brazil, Singapore. This is y'all's podcast, okay? It just brings me so much joy that I just started off thinking this was going to be local, you know what I'm saying? Like in San Diego, in California, now for it to be across the world, I'm just so grateful. Wholeheartedly. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Like I said, make sure you go listen to part 1 because this is part 2 of what leaders think and say and do. Suzanne Evans said, clarity comes from planning. It's simple, but it's perfect. Clarity comes from planning. The best thing that you can give your dreams is pen and paper. And if you don't like to write it down in your notes, in your phone, in Evernote, in Workflowy, in Trello, just planning things out, putting it down somewhere so it's out of your brain and in a place where you can look at it, review it, and move it into action, right? It could be, like I said, a virtual notepad. Will Smith says that he likes to plan everything backwards. So he starts with a movie, literally with sticky notes on the wall, and he plans the end of the movie and then works backwards with sticky notes. I think that's so dope. Find your method, find your way, but plan it out, put it on paper. Where do you want your event to go? How many people do you want there? Who do you want to speak? Will you need sponsors? How much money should you raise? Should it be a big venue or a little venue? What questions should you ask? Do you have a checklist? The good book says to write the vision and to make it plain. So really, the people who plan are the people who finish well. The people who plan are the ones who finish well. Next one is leaders are creators. Number 2 are leaders are creators. In order to be a creator or creative, you have to spend time in your craft. You got to spend time on your craft. That's the only way you're going to get great at it. Kobe Bryant would practice 4 times a day Most athletes would only practice twice a day. So he was 2 times better than his competition, right? If you want to be a creative, if you want to be an influencer, you want to be an author, if you want to be the CEO of your corporation, if you want to start a nonprofit, if you want to start your LLC, if you want to run a firm that people actually pay money for and they choose you out of all of the other attorneys, out of all of the other dentists, out of all of the other, consultants, if they're going to choose you, they should feel like they're getting the best person for the job. Like, oh, she the one, And I think what's a disservice to us at times is our phone, child, because we're in a battle of attention all the time. And the phone could be used for something great. It could be generating you income. It could be, where you send your emails from and all sorts of stuff. But your phone will let you know if it's spent on, entertainment versus learning and creating, right? The phone always snitches on us for some reason. John C. said, there is a price to pay for a receipt that you've occupied, honey. He said, where are the receipts? Where are the receipts? There is a price to pay for a receipt that you have occupied, okay? So we were to look at how we spend our time, how we spend our day. Is it really moving us forward, or is it keeping us stagnant? Is it that we're spending more time looking at other people's lives instead of creating a life that we really want? How are we spending our time as a tribe? We have to look at that, spending less time creating what we want to generate, what we want to have, what we want to leave to our children's children, instead of watching other people build legacy and creating generational wealth, right? And honestly, we can't sit around and complain about what's missing, what's wrong, because 9 times out of 9, if we see an issue, if we see a problem, we're probably the solution. We're probably the answer. If you are irritated by human trafficking, you might have a nonprofit deep in your belly that needs to be put out. If you have a problem with children being abused, that might be a program for you to create. If you don't like how teachers, they're not really teaching, they're there for a check. You see students aren't really learning what they're supposed to learn. There might be a program that you're supposed to be creating. If you see that there's a problem, 9 times out of 9, you're the solution. Number 3, Kevin Eastman, he was on the SOULKATION podcast. Shout out to Kevin. He said, as the leader and coach, everything is on you. The solution and the loss. Everything is on you. And this is so true. Ownership. If you don't publish your book, it's on you. If you don't start the nonprofit, it's on you. If you don't get up and do the squats, it's on you. It's on us. It's on us. And how we level up as leaders, as bosses, as moguls, as consultants, as women who influence other people, we got to own it. It ain't nobody's fault. It ain't nobody's fault you don't be reading. It's our fault. It ain't got nothing to do with these kids. Nothing. Okay? The trainer can't snatch the brownie out of my hand. I never thought I could give up sugar and flour. And then I reached 82 days with no sugar and flour. I'm like, oh, I really can do this. It took me 82 days to convince myself I could do something, right? Still on the journey, still haven't had sugar or flour. And I think it's an amazing thing, but the accountant can't snatch your debit card out your hand. He can only say, hey, this is how much you're spending. Maybe you shouldn't spend that much. I love what Gary Vee said. He said, everything is my fault. In my business, everything is my fault. If, your graphic designer keep messing up the graphics, it's on you, because nobody's going to know that Shelly is the one that made your graphics. You know what I'm saying? They looking at you. They like, this is not cute. We have to take a responsibility. And that is a sign of a true leader. A long-lasting leader is a person that just owns it. Next one is from Doc Rivers. He said, you have to put your whole heart into something. And he won the championship for the Boston Celtics basketball coach. He says, you have to put your whole heart in something, knowing full well it could be broken. You have to put your whole heart into something, knowing full well it could be broken, right? Starting a business is scary. But Madam C.J. Walker was like, I'm about to come through this thing like coming through white shoe when she bouncing through the club. Like Madam C.J. Walker just came through in a time where women were disrespected. They weren't having businesses and being millionaires, and she was Black. But her choice to say, I'm about to put my whole self in this, even if I'm discredited, even if, I'm maligned or used or cast aside or, looked at crazy because of my skin color. And because of her choice, it trickled down into the Black hair industry now. I mean, think about how many Black hair hairlines there are. Like, it's crazy. It only takes one person to set the tone, right? What could you put your whole heart into? What could you put your whole art into? Because it could change the industry. It's our job to put our whole self in there because our success is contingent upon it. Our generational wealth is contingent upon it. Our vision is contingent upon it. And I'm not saying any of this is going to be easy. I'm sure it wasn't easy for Madam TJ Walker. It's not easy for anybody that is putting themselves out there. It's hard to put yourself out there in a relationship. But what else can you do? Be halfway in? That's no fun, right? Put your whole self in, knowing that it could not work out, or you could, possibly fail. But every failure always has successful lessons tucked away in it. Because next time, baby, you bounce back with a shield on you that nobody can rock. Okay, last one. Susan Evans also said, I loved her book, by the way. And it's on the SOULKATION must read list. So if you're on Instagram, go to Logan Renee, and that's RENA _ and get the SOULKATION must read list. Or on SOULKATION Instagram page, you can get the list from there also. When you surrender to faith, you will find the flow. When you surrender to faith, you will find the flow. My interpretation is you have to literally hand over your doubts to God. When you surrender your faith, you'll find your flow. It's just taking those doubts and those fears and those insecurities. You'll be like, look, Lord, I can't. You told me to do this, but all this other stuff keep getting in the way. So here you go. Like literally just take it and be like, here, I don't know what to do with it. Get it away from me. Goodbye. It can't be in your hands and his hands. It can't. Because that means you running the show. It can't be in God's hands and your hands at the same time, right? So the next step is to just take your faith and go full out. Like Doc said, putting your whole self in, going full out. That's where the success will be. That's where the joy will be. That's where your purpose will be. That's where your next level will be. That's where courage really kicks in when we start tapping into faith. But we can't tap into faith until we take those things that are holding us back and we like, here you go. Like, I don't know what to do with it, God. Help me out. Please. I've been trying to carry it on my own and it's whack. Okay. Quick recap. What do the wealthy do? They are always looking for clarity. They plan with clarity. They're creators and they're creative, and how they become in that space, and influencers or people we look at as successful or celebrities, they take their time in their craft. They spend their time on their craft. We actually watch them living out their craft. So to be an influencer, you have to do the same thing, spending time in your craft. Next is owning it. As a leader, we got to own it. It's what separates, I would say, amateurs from the bosses, from the real ones, from the fakes. It separates from the fakes. And put your whole self in, even if you don't know how everything's going to turn out. And it's okay, because once you surrender and you give it to God and you tap into what we call faith and tap into what we call hope, on the other side of that is the promise. The promise always is waiting on us to say yes. Always. That's all I have for y'all today. Make sure y'all share this episode with your closest friend and rate this episode also. Please give me 5 stars and leave me a comment, and I'll be sure to read what you say on the show. And I'll catch you all in the next episode of the SOULKATION podcast.
My hope is that your soul just went on a vacay and you have tools that you can apply to your life today. For more in-depth tools, head on over to loganrenee.com. Also, if you have questions that weren't answered on this episode, email your questions to logan@loganrenee.com and I'll answer them here on the show. I'll talk to you soon.